the painful truth is, every year smoking's gotten harder and harder on you. Make this a real new year. Resolve to quit. Help save a life. Your own.
CNN Headline News, I'm Judy Fortin. Less than 2 weeks before the presidential election, President Bush was rallying support in southern states today. The president is now in Lafayette, Louisiana, where he's expected to answer questions from high school students. He started the day in Montgomery, Alabama, traditionally a Republican stronghold. He told crowds he was confident he would defeat Bill Clinton because he says, in the end, character and trust will matter to voters. He also warned against putting a Democratic candidate back in the White House.
It's fine to stand up and point out all the things that are wrong. And yes, we got problems. And yes, people are hurting. And yes, some people that are work want to know where they're going to get the jobs, how they're going to keep them. But let me tell you something. The last time we tried his kind of change, when you had a liberal Democrat in the White House and that same old crowd controlling the Congress, who remembers? He changed inflation, all right. He changed it up to 15%. He destroyed the family budgets and the interest rates. Some of you homeowners remember what they were. They were 21%. We do not need that kind of change for America.
Earlier in the day, Bush kicked 2 goals in a soccer match with Alabama school children. Democratic presidential candidate Clinton was also on a campaign swing today. The Arkansas governor is now in Ohio after making stops in Wisconsin and Iowa, and before wrapping up his day in Michigan. Bob Franken looks at the mood in the Clinton campaign.
Governor Clinton demonstrated during a Wisconsin dairy farm rally why he did not choose music as a career. Those handling his political career were keeping a close watch on the late campaign polls, showing Clinton's lead narrowing. Clinton himself admitted little concern.
If I responded to the daily changes in the polls that we now have, I just got the poll. There are 6 different polls that have 5 different results that have been conducted in the last 3 days, and we've had to be bothered by that.
But many of the polls show results similar to the latest CNN Time magazine survey, where his lead has narrowed to 8 points. Clinton's internal polls show slippage in the key states of Michigan and Wisconsin. Campaign leaders had been predicting shrinkage for some time. Press Secretary Dee Dee Myers says Clinton supporters are reevaluating, as expected.
I think people are rethinking their votes across the board. I don't think it's just Clinton supporters. I think this is sort of a natural thing that tends to happen at the end of elections.
The third-party candidate, Ross Perot, makes this election different. But even though Perot has primarily been gaining strength at his expense, Clinton has not leveled an all-out attack.
I'm more than happy to talk about where I think Mr. Perot's wrong and I'm right, but I don't think this ought to be. I'm trying to lift this campaign in the last 10 days, not let it degenerate, and I hope I can do that.
But Clinton has routinely criticized Perot's deficit reduction plan as recessionary.
You know, keep in mind that the Perot analyst, the person he hired to analyze his plan, says it increases unemployment by 500,000 all the way through 1995.
President Bush brings his campaign here to Iowa Monday. Both Bush and Clinton working many of the same battleground states of the South and Midwest, Georgia, North Carolina, and Michigan. Itineraries are not made public. Schedules are changed at the last minute, as the final competition looks very much like an election chess game. Bob Franken, CNN, Des Moines, Iowa.
Independent candidate Ross Perot will air another half-hour TV campaign ad tonight. It is called The Ross Perot Nobody Knows, but campaign aides say they don't know what it's about. Tomorrow, Perot supporters will get to see their candidate in person. He has scheduled rallies in Flemington, New Jersey, and downtown Pittsburgh. The results of the latest CNN USA Today Gallup tracking poll show Perot gaining at the expense of Clinton and Bush. Clinton is preferred by 41% of the registered voters questioned, dropping 2 points since yesterday. President Bush got 30% support, a loss of 1 point, and Perot was up 2 points today with 20%. Liberian rebels have taken 4 United Nations relief workers hostage. Sources in Monrovia say Rebel Chief Charles Taylor seized the 3 Liberians and a Dutchman in the town of Gabanga Thursday. It's not known why they were taken hostage, but they were accused of spying at Taylor's headquarters. Taylor has been involved in bitter fighting with West African peacekeeping forces for the past 10 days. In Tajikistan, government forces have failed to recapture the republic's parliament. Supporters of ousted President Rakhman Nabayev staged a raid and seized the building and the presidential palace early today. 2 Russian news agencies report an unspecified number of casualties. The situation in Tajikistan has deteriorated since an alliance of Democrats and radical Muslims forced Nabayev, an old-style communist, to resign in September. The Tajik government says thousands of people have been killed in ethnic fighting. Hardline demonstrators in the former Soviet Union are calling for the return of communism. More than 1,000 people were on hand in Moscow today, pledging to oust Russian President Boris Yeltsin. Die-hard communists announced that they're joining forces with neo-fascists to form a National Salvation Front designed to fight Yeltsin's government. They accuse the Russian president of promoting anti-people policies and selling out to Western-style capitalism. In Germany, violence by right-wing youths has broken out for the 3rd straight night. In one northeastern town, about 100 right-wingers and 60 non-German students hurled gasoline bombs and rocks. No one was hurt. Police eventually broke up the mob and detained 11 brawlers. A refugee hostel in Bavaria was also firebombed last night. A battle may be brewing between the United States and Europe over who will capture the best view of space. Lucia Newman has a look.
The most important space observatory in the southern hemisphere sits 6,600 feet atop of Mount Tololo, a native Indian word meaning on the edge of the abyss. And indeed, the Tololo Observatory in northern Chile is in an exceptional location, where air currents from the Pacific Ocean converge with those of the Atacama Desert, the driest in the world, creating a transparent atmosphere equal to none for observing the stars. Astronomers must book months, sometimes years in advance, for a chance to have a crack at the Tololo's main attraction, an enormous 4-meter, 14-story-high telescope.
It has a first-rate set of telescopes, and also it has the best staff in the world. It's a very good observatory.
But it may not be for long. The European community is building a rival observatory in the same valley with 4 8-meter telescopes. Superior technology that would make the U.S.-run Tololo Observatory second-rate.
I think the U.S. and collaborators such as Britain and Canada do need to stay on the cutting edge.
It used to be that the astronomer was at the telescope, one eye closed,